Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, in this session I'm working on few examples related to classical probability. So here I'm just working on the example of two dice. When you roll two dice, so there are different possible outcomes you may have, up to 36 possible outcomes you can have. For example, in die 1, there are chances that you can get either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6. And also in die 2, you may get from 1 up to 6. So here in this grid, we just try to find out what is the summation of different combinations we may have in die 1 and die 2. For example, when you roll die 1, you can get 1 in die 2. If you get 1, so the summation of both of them can be 2 here. Or if you get first 1 in die 1 and 2 in die 2, so the summation can be 3, and here the summation of 1, 3 can be 4, and 4. Here the summation of 1 and 4 can be 5. In this way, we can have 36 possible outcomes or combinations we have. So in Excel, we have a function for example, just put equal sign and click on this one, and then plus click here on this one. So very simply, you can get the sum of two dice. So now if you just try to fill this grid, now I'm just telling to Excel to stick to this row, and E2 is a row. So click here and you should put $sign before 2, because the E is the reference of the column and the 2 is the reference of the row. So I'm just telling to stick into row number 2, and when I'm just dragging it to the right, I'm just telling to stick to the column here. So the column is D. Just put $sign here. Press enter and just drag it to the right. In the same way, you can drag it to down. Now we have all different possible outcome as a result of two dice. Okay, so look here in the very much first cell, we have the summation of die. When you roll die first, you can have 1 in 1 in die 2, so the sum is 2. In the first die, you may get 1, in the second die you can get 2, so the summation is 3. Similarly, if you get the 2 value in die first, right, and 1 in die 2, summation is 3. And if you get 2 in die first and 2 in die 2, the summation is 4. In this way, you can have how many possible outcomes? You can say 36 possible outcomes, and all of them are equally likely, and that is what we have talked about in classical probability. Now the second point here is we just try to know how many sum of dice we have. Okay, that is starting from 2, this is first sum, and up to 12, this is the maximum one. So you can just put 2, starting from 2, 3, 4, and this will go up to 12. Okay, very simply up to 12. Now, what is the frequency of this sum? 2, sum of dice 2, what is its frequency? Number of 36. Okay, how many times this 2 appears, how many times 3 appears here, and how many times 4, the sum 4 appears in the total grid data sets you have. So for the frequency, we have a function COUNTIF, right? And after that, just take this range. Okay, I'm just telling to count for me what. Okay, I'm just telling to count for me this value, which is L2. Count for me L2. Keep in mind, I'm just telling Excel to stick into this range, right? Because if you do not tell Excel to stick to the range, then when you drag this down, the Excel will take all these empty cells. The grid is just coming down. Okay, press enter. So drag it down, and then you'll have the frequencies. Okay, so you can say 2 is 1 time repeated, and 3 is how many times? 2 times. We have 3. The sum of 3 is 2 times we have, and the sum of 4 is 3 times, and this sum 5 repeated 4 times, and sum 6 repeated 5 times. So these are frequencies of all these sum of dice. Now the next point is we just try to find out what is the probability of 2 in the total grid or the total data set points. So 1 repeated how many times? Okay, 2 repeated 1 time, and 3 repeated 2 times. What is its probability? First you should add what is the total number of frequency. Alt plus is giving you the summation of all 36 frequencies we have. So in probability, now click on this frequency and divide by the total frequency we have, number of frequency, right? Now tell to stick to this, click here and click dollar sign is dollar sign is and before m and before 13. Okay, press enter and just drag it down. Okay, now you can simply see the probability of getting 2 in the total data sets you have, are in the total number of combinations you have, that is 3%. Okay, just click here and convert it into percent very much simply. Okay, in the probability of sum of dice 3, that is 5.6%, and similarly 4 is 8.3. And the maximum probability you can see that is 16. When you just draw a graph, click here, and in bar chart you can click on insert and go to the graph here and just select any of the graph you just like. This will tell you about the probabilities you have. Okay, or any other graphs you just like. Okay, look here. In this graph you can just see the most probable value, or you can say the 7 here, that is in between 16. Okay, this value here you can see 16.17. This is the highest probability we have, and here we have 7. So you can say the most repeated number here is 7. It has 16.7 percent. This is its probability in this graph. So this was all about the different sum of combinations you may have in two dice, and what are their frequencies and their probabilities. Hopefully it's clear, inshallah. Okay, now in sheet 2 we have an example where you have three dice. When you roll three dice, what are the possible outcomes you may have? So the number of total outcomes you can have in three dice combinations you can have is 216, right? Because the first row is heading. So in first die we may get 1, in the second we may get 1 and 1 in the third one, and the total sum is 3. Similarly, in the first, there is possibility you can get 1 in the first die, and 1 in the second die, and 2 in the third die. And also, there is possibility to get 1 in first die, and 1 in the second die, and 3 in the third die. And this way, there are 6 possibilities in the third die, and then again it starts from 1 2 1 1 2 2 1 2 3 1 2 4, and similarly then you can have 1 3 1. So the total combinations you can have, that is 216 combinations. So now the sum of three dice you can have is 3. Simply just sum it. Okay, and finally in a similar way you can find out the sum of dice starting from 3, and the maximum value of the sum we can have, that is not more than 18. The 18 is the maximum. Why? Because 3 times 3 is actually that is 18. So starting from 3 4 5, and that continues to 18. Okay, now what is the frequency of 3? How many times 3 appeared in the total sum we have in 4 and then 5. So we have count if in the same way. Just count if and click on, take this range here, right? And then comma, and what is the criteria? The criteria is just G4 cell, and just tell to stick into this range. Okay, and close the bracket, and then you'll have the frequencies in this way. This is the total of frequencies 216. Now what's the probability? Just click on the frequency number 1 and click on the total number of frequency, and just stick into this cell. Click on F4, and you'll have the probabilities. Look, dear students. Okay, now just graph it, and you can just check how it look like. Click on insert and click on the graph and just look. Now this, the data is just looking normally distributed. Okay, so you can say that is in symmetrical shape, and the value which is mostly repeated, that is 10 and 11. You can say 27 times 10 repeated in the whole data sets, and 11 27 times repeated. Okay, inshallah this example is also clear. Okay, we have one more example related to a business. For example, these are different months you have randomly selected, and this is just the amount of units sold in a business. Now you just try to know what is the probability of different number of units sold in a different number of months. So for this purpose, first just select this column, okay, copy this column and click here, and then we have in data, click on remove duplicates, okay, and click on units sold and open. Once the duplicates are removed, then click on this and go to home and click here sort, custom sort, and make it in ascending order, smallest to largest. Okay, now find the frequency and after that we need its probability. Okay, look dear students, for frequency we have countive function, and just take this total in the range, total data set in the range, and then comma, and click on this. This is a criteria. I'm just telling the Excel what is the frequency of 80 in the total months. We have number of months. Just click and drag it down. So you can see the frequency of 83 and the frequency of 90, that is 2. But here's a point, just still to stick into this total data sets, okay, into this number. Why? Because if you do not stick to this reference, then the formula can be wrong or the results can be not okay. Okay, so we have these are frequencies. Now find out the probabilities. Equal sign, click on this frequency, divide by the total probabilities. What is first at all these values? We have 12, okay, month. Now this 3, how much time repeated? Click on here, and F4, press enter. Now just drag it down. Okay, let me explain this, dear student. What is meant by this? Okay, just click here and convert it into percentage. Okay. It means that the sale which is 80 repeated how many times? 3 times. So you can say the 80, the amount of sale round about 80 $1,000, for example, or 80 units, because this is units sold. The 80 units sold, the frequency of the 80 is 3 times. So you can say 80 is 25%. There is chances of 25% that your sale is 80 units. Okay. For example, if you are curious to know that how many units you may sell in each and every month, so possibly the 80 units, the probability of 80 units is 25%, and 90 units is 16.67%. Why? Because we find out these probabilities from their frequencies. Now, we have one another very much important function in Excel by the name of probe. You're just interested to know what is the probability of sale between 90 and 120 inclusive, right? Or what is the probability of sale between 80 and 90? What is the probability of sale between 1000 and 150? Okay, for this cumulative probability, we have function of probe. Just click on probe, right? Simply, and start with bracket, and we have X range. Take all these units in range, then take all these probabilities, right? And then what is your lower limit and upper limit? You can say, for example, what is the probability of sale between 90 and 90, range of 90 and 120. So this means what is the probability of sale 90, 120? That is just giving you the cumulative percentage of probability of the 3 months. So the limit, the lower and upper limits. So the probability, but keep in mind 1900 is inclusive, okay? So the probability here is 58.33. Okay, this is the probe is just returning the summation of the lower and upper limit inclusive. Okay, the first and the last limit must be inclusive. So if you add all these 3 probabilities, that is giving you the same number. Look, sum, and when you add the probability of 90, 100, and 120, that is giving you the same number. So this is simply the total probability. When you're just interested to know about the number of different units in different months, and you just try to find out their total probabilities, so we can use the command probe in Excel. Hopefully, inshallah, you got the different examples we worked on here in this session. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.